Hey guys, this is Locke. In this video, I'm going to talk about what you can do if you get stuck. And what I mean by stuck is I get a lot of questions from people saying, hey, I'm at chapter 1 hard and I can't really progress. I can't beat this boss and it's been days and like I'm doing my dailies, but like my daily dungeons, I get stuff from it and I'm progressing very, very slowly. It's taking me many days to actually get over this thing and I don't know what to do. How can I progress? This video is going to attempt to give you some ideas on basically what to do in that scenario. So I've said before that obviously you have to focus on the individual heroes that you are trying to beat a particular boss with. For example, if you're stuck on chapter 1 hard, you need burn resist, so you're definitely going to have to focusing on Gui to to do that stage. It's basically like almost impossible to do the stage without him unless you're like way overgreed, which is not the case for you guys to be stuck on. So you obviously need to be focusing on these individual heroes, and I've said that before. So I want to give you some other ideas and stuff you can kind of do in general. And one of the main things in the game actually that you'll kind of slowly be working on, which I want to bring to your attention right now, is these codex buffs. And of the codex, the hero codex buff is the most important. And there are basically 4 categories that these buffs are coming from. So if I look at any hero, like for example this one, there are 4 different things that impact this codex buff. These are proficiency levels, potentials, hero levels, and skill level. And of all of these, the proficiency level is the most important. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to go to the hero that I was just looking at. I don't know how to pronounce her name, so I'm going to call her Yon, I think. So if I click on this magnifying glass, the second one that says proficiency level, I can see how the stats are going to be impacted. So every 10 levels, I'm going to get 4 attack. Every 9 potentials, I'm going to get 4 attack. Every 11 skill levels, I'm going to get 4 attack. But every proficiency level, I'm actually going to get 9 attack. So the one level in proficiency is almost twice as impactful as levels and skills and potentials and skills. So you really want to focus on that proficiency level. Now, so I'm going to basically give you tips, first of all, for proficiency, then I'm going to go into the other things, right? So for proficiency, basically the more you use a hero, the more that proficiency's levels can increase. And what I do is I actually, when I'm doing raids, so when the game starts, right, you're probably not at raid level 10, but maybe we're at like raid level 5 or 6 or something. If you can't advance the raid, right, like if you're at 5 and you have been stuck on 5 and you don't think you can do 6 today, when you are clearing, set your team up such that everybody, everyone on that team is not maxed proficiency, right? Like if you're using some main heroes, like say Rachel is one of your main heroes, it's okay to leave her there as long as her proficiency is not maxed. But if it is maxed, and it might be because you've been playing for a while now, if it is maxed, then you want to put in different heroes like her that don't have a max proficiency level. And once you do that and you click clear, all of their proficiencies are going to go up by a little bit. You can use these tickets, right? Like these re-entry tickets, but I don't recommend that if you are at a low tier. Like if you're at least at tier 8, actually, if you're at least at tier 6, you might consider using it. But before 6, I really wouldn't, because you have like no chance of getting legendary crafting material. Still, the higher it is, the better. Like I think I started doing it at tier 8 is when I started using some of these tickets. But I really wouldn't recommend it before 6 at least. Tier 9 is another good point to start, because you also have a chance of getting legendary gear outright instead of the materials. So I would only use these tickets then. But I mean, you're at least doing this once a day, right? So change your team up, use heroes that you haven't used before, get their proficiencies up, and it's better to do it for higher tier heroes. Like you want to use legendary heroes instead of rares. If you run out of legendaries, you want to use rares instead of green. And the reason you want to do that is because the stats from proficiency is higher for the higher tier it is. Like we just looked at her, she gets +9 attack, right? Now if you look at a white hero, just to show you the difference, she gets +4 attack. So you can see, I mean, it's a legendary hero is basically giving me more than twice as much from one proficiency level as a white hero. So you want to start focusing on the higher grade heroes first and bring their proficiency up, and then focus on, like, blue heroes, then green, and then finally white. Also, you're also doing these raids every day as well. And again, if you know for sure you're not going to be able to do the next tier, like if you think you can, try it, right? Like use whatever heroes you have and try to go to the next level. If you fail, okay, then go back to the tier you were on before and change these heroes such that, again, they're going to be maximizing your proficiency gain. Then click clear, and they will all gain some amount of proficiency from that. So you can do that for all these. You can do that for your 8-player raid as well. I don't recommend doing it for dungeon unless you're doing soulstone number 8 or elixir number 8, because like these ones, sometimes it's better to do 8 than 9 or 10 anyway. But the reason I don't recommend that is because, for example, if you look at, like, say you're stuck on, so let's give you an example like Goldwall. Say you're stuck on tier 7, right? And if you use the clear for tier 7, you will get like 220,000 gold. But if you get like a C in the next tier, you're already getting more than the tier 7 maximum reward. So you don't really want to use clears for this. I mean, you can, like, if you want, because it's not that big of a difference, but still, like, the maximum reward that you can get is actually from the next tier. Even if it's a lower grade, it's still okay. So I don't really recommend doing this, the clears for the dungeons. I do recommend doing the clears for all the raids, including the 8-player raids. Now, another source of getting these proficiency level comes from field exploration. Now, again, let's go with the example that you're stuck on hard 1, so you can't do any of these. You can probably do the normal stages, right? So you want to try to get in 1 or 2 heroes into doing, the best stage that you can, and still being able to clear it. So, for example, like maybe you're able to do these ones, like one of these. And you can do it on auto. That's great. It says recommended combat power is 90k, but it really isn't. You can probably do it, much earlier than that. So you click this, and then you change some of your heroes such that they can gain proficiency. You probably want to have at least one of your main DPS heroes, because you probably won't be able to clear it without it. You have one of your main DPS heroes. You probably need one of your healers, and your DPS and healer might already be at max proficiency. If they are, that's okay. You can't really go without. So use them. And then see if you can, find a couple of other heroes. Maybe one. If you can afford it, you do 2 heroes that you're going to put there just to gain proficiency. And if you can't do the boss stages, you can still do these stages as well. You have a very small chance of getting an accessory from here, like these legendary plus accessories. And if it drops, that's great. But yeah, I mean, it's you should think about raising their proficiencies at some point. And if you're like really stuck and you can't progress, this might be a good time to start thinking about it, right? You're not getting proficiencies from story mode, so there's no point in rerunning a stage. Like you can click here, and then you can click like normal 8 or something and redo it. But if you redo it, there's no you don't get any proficiencies from that. So that is not, unfortunately, that's not a place to gain proficiencies. One last note I want to mention on a proficiency is that it gets like going from 0 to 1 is 500 proficiency points. Going from 1 to 2 is 1200. So you need more than twice the effort to go from 1 to 2, right? So what you want to be focusing on is getting, at least all your legendary heroes, get all their proficiencies up to 1, and then, go to the rare heroes, get all their proficiencies up to 1, and work on it that way. If you instead go, you work on like 2 heroes and get their proficiencies up to 5 at a time, you're still getting the same stats, right? Like you're still getting 9 attack every 1 level, but you're going to take so much longer to get, like, say, the 4th to 5th proficiency level than getting level 1 proficiency in a bunch of heroes. So you want to spread it out, because otherwise you're spending a lot of resources to get less value, basically, right? Yes. And I mean, proficiency is always good as well, because it does give you shards. So especially the legendary heroes, their shards come by, it's hard to get their shards, right? But if you look at the rewards that you get there for their proficiencies, you can click on the magnifying glass at the top right to see. You get 2 soul stones every level in proficiency, except for the 5th level where you get 4 soul stones. So you're actually getting 12 soul stones as well to go from like 0 to 5. But if it's not your main hero, as I said, like it's better to focus on spreading proficiency around to many heroes than one, because it adds drastically to your codex buff. So that's all I have to say about proficiency. The next thing is the leveling, right? So you actually want to go through all your heroes and level them 10 at a time, because again, when we check, we get a certain stat in, a certain stat added to the codex buff for every 10 levels. So what you want to do is you want to go to all your heroes, especially the ones that you've like never used. I'm assuming you have never used them, and you want to raise all their levels to level 10. Start with your legends again, and then go to your blue, then your green, and your white. Raise all of them to level 10, and then start again from your legends that you don't use. Raise all of them to level 20, and then go to blue, green, white. Raise all of them 20, and then like that. You want to raise them all at 10 at a time, because if you raise somebody from like level 10 to level 18, that doesn't really impact your codex buff at all. And if you're not using this hero, it doesn't really help you to do anything, right? So you want to really focus on getting these leveled up 10 at a time for it to have an impact on your codex buff. And again, like legends give you more stats. Like, this guy gives you +3 defense for every 10 levels. But if I look at a white hero, let's see if I have one. I'm looking for a white or green tank. Let's look at him. He gives me 1 defense. So you can see, like, I'm getting 3 defense for a legendary, for every 10 levels in a legendary hero, and I'm only getting 1 defense for every 10 levels in a green hero. So focus on those heroes first, but it's easier to raise 10 levels at a time than go from like level 10 to, from level 0 to level 30. Next is potential. So potential, let's go here to reference it. Every 9 levels in potential gives you added stats. So the easiest way to reach 9 potential is to go 3-3-3. So I find that the elixirs for potential is a lot harder to come by than the potions for experience. So I raised everybody to level 30 already, but I'm still struggling to get everybody to like 9 potential. But what I did, I started with like some legendary heroes, and I started giving them 3-3-3 in their potentials. But I haven't done it for everybody yet. So this is what you would do. Like you would start with your heroes and go 3-3-3. You would start again at legend, and then blues, greens, white. I've been repeating this over and over now, but that's basically what you want to do. If you're stuck, you can't progress, this is one way of adding to your stats for your whole party. And the nice thing about this, as opposed to focusing on a particular hero, is that, like, for example, say you're stuck at Chapter 1 hard, right? And you're focusing on Gui, you want to get his resistance up or something. You're doing something with him to be able to beat Chapter 1 hard. But whenever you beat Chapter 1 hard and now you're in Chapter 2 hard, Gui is no longer relevant for that chapter. Sure, he'll be useful later on, but for Chapter 2 now you have to focus on something else to actually beat Chapter 2. Whereas with codex buffs, these buffs are always going to be applicable no matter what you do. So an investment in codex buffs by raising everybody's levels, by raising everyone's proficiencies, so on and so on, these will always be beneficial for your account. So it's a good idea to focus on them, especially when you're stuck and you don't know what to do. It's a nice extra boost that you can get. So I talked about proficiency, I talked about level and potential. The last one is skill. Skill really goes hand in hand with levels anyway. I mean, you can't just raise skills without raising levels. But I find that a lot of players, especially, who haven't thought about it before, you have a lot of units, like back here, whose levels are 15 or 20 or something, but you never really bothered to raise their skills. So this is an opportunity, as long as you have enough gold to do it, to go and raise their skills. Again, you want to focus in terms of 11 levels, and start raising all their skills. I went and raised every single one of their skills, but I also have like way excess gold to just go and do it. So you have to be conscious of your gold, and if you don't have enough gold to do all of these, again, start with legends, then go with blue, then go with green and white. But yeah, skills plus levels, they go hand in hand, and it is often enough to give your account some kind of boost that you're looking for that will enable you to eventually beat these guys faster than you would if you'd never really paid attention to codex. So that's all I really have to say. There is other stuff that I mentioned before, like, obviously focusing on the particular hero you need to beat that stage. Sometimes when you're fighting a boss, like there's a bar that shows up at the top of the screen. You want to click on that and see the effects that the boss does. I will show you an example with a raid boss. Like if you click on their skills, it'll say, okay, it has 89 chance of inflicting burn. So you basically want to find some way to give yourself burning resistance. So if you're stuck on a boss, any boss, see if any of their skills causes some kind of a status effect. And you want to basically bring some kind of hero that gives you a resistance to that status effect. So you really have to focus on, bringing that hero up to get past that hurdle. But even while you're focusing on that, like if you want to bring up Gui and you're at like level 35 and it's going to take you some time to get to 40 because you don't have the soul stones yet, while you're focusing on him, you can do what I just told you. Like you can focus on raising your codex buff for everybody while you're also simultaneously working on Gui to bring up his level or something like that, So I hope this video helps. I hope it gives you some ideas. You can never really go wrong with raising your codex because, again, eventually at some point, everyone will want to raise their codex because you really want to benefit from all the added stats that it gives. If you look at my codex, just to give an example of what these stats look like, obviously I'm nowhere near like complete, right? If I look at like these guys, that there's still room to go. This is probably the most codex buff that I've gotten from a particular group. Like the other groups, I'm like nowhere near. Like this one is not even half done. But if I look at the total buffs, I'm getting like 700 attack, 3000 HP, 225 defense. These are all pretty significant stats. If I look at a +0 legendary weapon, I get, I think, 560 something attack. So the attack that I'm getting from the codex buff is even more than a +0 legendary weapon. So it's pretty significant, and it starts to add up. And I haven't really been focusing on proficiency levels except for a few key heroes. So when I thought about it, I'm like, wow, I'm actually missing a lot of stats and that I could add if I start working on all their proficiencies and getting them up to, level 1 at least. So this buff will become pretty significant. And the earlier you work on it, the better it is. But still, like, you don't want to just focus on proficiency and forget everything else. You want to still focus on, investing in the heroes to clear a particular stage. But sometimes, there's a limit with what you can do on a day, right? So if you are missing soul stones to bring Gui up, that's a limiting factor. You can't really do anything about it. So while you're waiting to get more soul stones to actually level him more, you can still work on proficiencies and other thing like leveling up all your other units and so on, so that your codex buff stats gets inflated. So I hope this video helps. I hope it gives you something to do to help you to progress your account for when you're stuck. I know the feeling is kind of sucky when you're like stuck and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I've been stuck on the stage for like 3 days. I don't know, like I'm not progressing anywhere. The dailies is only giving me very marginal returns that I can't really do anything with. So hopefully this helps you to get past that hurdle. And I really want to mention this again. I mentioned it in several other videos. If you ever see a legendary weapon from the mole shop, regardless of whatever set it is, buy it and put it on our DPS and at least try to get it to +10, because that is significantly going to help you to progress way faster in the game. It doesn't matter what the set is, just buy it, and don't buy it for rubies, buy it for gold. Buy it for 2 million gold, okay? And equip it on your DPS hero of choice and use it, and that is also going to help you drastically progress through the story. That's it for this video. If you have other questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will do my best to address it. Take care, guys. I will see you guys next time.